Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the most important No Punches Pulled podcast to date. Riyadh season's the last crescendo is just 5 days away now. The grand arrivals have been there. We've seen them. All the fighters look in fantastic shape. They're all there. There's no fall off so far, Liam. Touch wood, that's going to remain the same. JFT is on his way in a few minutes. Thanks to everybody who's already joined us and live. Liam, we haven't done any review shows from last week first, so this episode is strictly dedicated to the last crescendo card when Jay arrives. In fact, Junto Nakatani's fighting on Monday, so we will preview that fight as well. But there's no news outlets on this one. It's purely previewing what's going to be a fantastic card. There's no other news that matters this week apart from what goes on in Riyadh on Saturday night. So good evening, Luca. Liam, how are we, mate? You well?
Yeah, mate, you've just set the scene absolutely fantastically. I am buzzing for, well, not even Saturday night. It will be Saturday afternoon when this card gets going. It is just everything that you want from boxing in one card. I mean, you look at events on this, you look at fights on this card, you could put Shakur and Floyd on the west coast of America. It probably does 10K tickets. You could put Zhang in China in the bird's nest and he'd do 30,000. Shiraz and Adames does the Copper Box or the Wembley Arena in London. You could probably sell out the O2 with Dubois and Parker. Smith and Buatsi sells out Wembley Arena or does good numbers up in Liverpool. Like, these are all main events in their own right. It's a fantastic card, and what a great time for boxing. Yes, we can have our gripes and moan about Riyadh season, but for this week, can we just appreciate the spectacle we're going to get to see?
Absolutely. Good evening, DJ Pat. Hope you're well, my friend. Yeah, I'm counting down the days myself personally now. I'm not going to do Jay over like that. Good evening, David Roper. Excited to get myself stuck into. I've got a long drive tomorrow, so I'm going to get myself stuck in to the pod you guys did with Mr. Tully last night. I think it was recorded, so good on you for that. Hope you're well, my friend, and thanks for joining us as always. Shout out to the Roper Boxing Pod. Yes, Liam, while we wait for Jay, I'm not going to do him out of talking about any of these fights like that. No review show last weekend. Keyshawn Davis, let's start with first of all. What a performance against Baranchyk.
Emphatic statement made. Welcome to the big time. Show him the money. Eddie, get your checkbook out. All the superlatives you can throw at that. That was a spiteful demolition of a very tough Ukrainian. I don't care. I mean, I said with Dave's last night, yes, Baranchyk was disappointed. He has almost suddenly seemed to fall off a cliff face overnight since the Navarrete fight. But going into that fight, that was a very tough and durable Ukrainian that was going to be tough to prize the world title away from. Keyshawn Davis made it look like nothing more than a spar halfway through training camp. His body shot placement was exemplary. And when he got the scent of blood, literally and metaphorically, he did not take his foot off the gas. That is the type of performance that makes the boxing world sit up and take notice. And the Keyshawn Davis train has finally arrived, baby.
Yeah, I'm all over it as well. His bodywork was brilliant. I mean, he was a little bit disappointed in Baranchyk, but I'm going to put that down to Keyshawn Davis's performance, to be honest, rather than put it down to what Dennis Baranchyk did. I hope we see Andy Cruz next. I hope we see Tank at some point. I'm skeptical on whether we see both anytime soon. I have to be honest. I think we'll see him at 140 soon as well, Keyshawn. Just quickly elsewhere on that card, Abdullah Mason with a really good win as well. Xander Zayas, he needs a big one at 154. But what I want to talk about is big baby Jared Anderson. Obviously, we saw him take a step up in August in LA against Big Martin Bakole. Got found out and dispatched. He didn't look great, it has to be said. I know we're talking about it as it was going down. He was on one of the first fights of the night. For America's next big heavyweight prospect, maybe the hype slowed down on that for now, but that's what he was billed as before he fought Martin Bakole. What do you think's going on with Jared Anderson at the minute?
Look, the big baby moniker is absolutely perfect for the childish disrespect that he showed both his corner boxing and his opponent on Friday night. And yes, I'm being that harsh on it. That was horrendous to see. Your corner are telling you to go for the body, but you're moaning like a little baby because you don't want to hit elbows. Well, that's boxing, mate. Try and miss the elbows and land on the target. You're not going to do that. Looking out of the ring, not looking engaged, basically winning the fight only off of a jab because he felt like he had to do something. Whole attitude stunk. And as I've already spoken about, you question, did he show that attitude in training camp? And if he was showing that attitude in training camp, why haven't the team gone, look, we're not working with you. We are leaving. That's almost as damning an indictment on the training team as it is on Jared Anderson. That team were happy to take their 15% out of his purse and get weighed in rather than actually do anything to try and aid and abet his career. If I don't see the name Jared Anderson lined up for a fight for the rest of 2025, I will not be disappointed. Is he a bit similar to Dominic Brazil, another American footballer that's come over to boxing late?
Lads.
Heat's come on. Evening, mate. The heat's come on, and he just doesn't want it. He just doesn't want to be in the kitchen. It's too hot for him.
Absolutely. While Jay's joined us, hope you're well, JFT. We'll just quickly touch on Catterall Barboza. We won't go down the full card because I want to get into this week.
My boy Arnold.
Jack, he fought well, to be fair. It's a high-level chess match. I think that's the way me and Jay were kind of describing it when we were watching last week. But I think the right man won in the end. The judges' cards were fine by me, 7-5 to Jack and 2 7-5s for Barboza. But it's going to sting for Jack Catterall, boys, that, isn't it?
Absolutely. I mean, I had it a little bit wider. I've watched it back, had it slightly less wide, but I had it wider than the judges. I did say that I thought Barboza were going to stop Jack just before the fight. I just had this random feeling. I did bet on a round 8 and also a TKO finish, which I got badly wrong. But, you know, I think watching it now, I've watched it 3 and a bit times. I zoned out on the fourth watch at about round 6 or 7. I don't think Jack Catterall could have done much different. You know, he boxed to orders. You've listened to his corner. He's doing exactly what they're telling him to do. Barboza was just better on the night. And that happens sometimes. We don't always see the best fighters win the fights. The best football teams don't necessarily always win games. I've just been listening to radio on the way home, and my local team, Bradford City, are in a lower league cup semi-final against Birmingham. Now, Birmingham are pretty much a championship side. They're not. They're in Division 1. But everybody is expecting Bradford City to lose. I'll take you back to when they played Chelsea in the FA Cup at Stamford Bridge under Jose Mourinho when Chelsea were fucking Chelsea. Bradford City whooped their ass. They beat them 4-2 after being 2-0 down. It's a one-off game. And that's, in a fight scenario, shit can happen. And I don't just mean you get caught and you get knocked out, because that can happen to anybody. I'm talking about the better pugilist doesn't necessarily always get the rub of the green or...
Yeah, I second that, because I think with Catterall, sorry to cut you off, just come into my head, you can only take so many Regis Prograis, Arnold Barbozas, Josh Taylors before
you lose one.
Run into someone where you lose.
And I think Jack stylistically is the better fighter. He has the better attributes. He's longer, he's slightly taller. I thought he hit a little bit harder, but Barboza just turned up, and you saw the outpouring of emotion in the changing rooms afterwards when he was sort of sobbing, holding the belt.
He was on a mission.
That was a culmination of his dreams. He came to the guy's backyard on his own with his team. Oscar wasn't there, which I was disappointed in. I know he had a show and what and blah blah blah, but for me, he came on his own. The chips stacked against him in the UK, where we're notorious for favouring the home fighter. Myself and you, Sam, on the broadcast actually said we thought Barboza had won, but we felt that Jack...
Everybody was watching with us as well. All of us were saying the same thing. We think Barboza's nicked it, but Catterall will get it on the cards.
We'll get it on the cards.
Credit where it's due.
It was a good thing to see that judging did as judging is dying to do, which is award who they feel wins that fight, not who they feel should win the fight. And I think sometimes we get home decisions, don't we? And home corner decisions. The right man won. It's going to sting for a bit. But ultimately, Jack's proved that he is of that level. I think every time he has a fight again, a lot of people, not us, but expect him to. This is where he lit his peak. This is where he lit a brick wall. It was lucky against Josh Taylor, and Josh Taylor wasn't Josh Taylor when they rematched. Regis Prograis, not all that. He's on the slide. Barbosa's not. But I also think, just before I finish, that people read too much into the McComb performance. I think Barbosa just had a flat night that night.
Yeah,
and he
underestimated McComb that night. It was that simple. Most definitely.
Right man won, but I'm interested to see where it goes from here for both fighters. I'd like to see Jack regroup and fight someone, and we might see a rematch down the line for the full belt.
Yeah, we've got Choi B in the house. Hope you're well. Choi B says Catral's any domestic talent. Don't know about that just yet. I think he's still probably up there for now. Lucas bang on as well. If it was all 3 UK judges, we'd have probably got a UD for
100%. Just going back to Choi's comment before we move on. People forget that when he lost against Josh Taylor in the first fight, but dominated him in parts of that fight, but I believe he won it by a fair few rounds. Josh Taylor was on the pound for pound list. Josh Taylor was not far off pound for pound top 3.
He's a huge underdog that night.
Exactly. So to call him a domestic fighter and he's being found out, if that's the level that domestic is at, then damn, we're in for some good fights because Jack Catral's world class.
If he was like dominated and stuff like that, they'd have been talking about feeding him to Azim and Dalton Smith, but he's not ready to be fed.
He's
not ready to be fed
any of those names yet, have they? Because if he went in with someone like Azim, I think he could old man Azim and beat him fairly comfortably if he could stay away from his power, which I think he's good enough to do. So no, Jack Catral's not on the slide. That could have happened to anybody that night. It could have gone the other way as well.
He could have got the decision, although
I think if he'd have boxed better in the last 2 rounds, and that's not me dismissing what he did, I just don't think he did enough in the final 2 rounds to nick the fight. I think if he ever had a better round 11 and 12, he'd have probably got the decision. But here we are on a few days after, and he lost, but he'll be fine. Jack will be fine. I would like to know whether they picked that kit on purpose, though, because that was the most boring boxing kit I've ever seen. If they did, fantastic. If not, shit choice.
Boys, let's cut the bullshit, shall we? Let's get into it.
Do we have to?
Let's get into it. Saturday night.
Pays my bills, man.
Saturday night, Jay. February the 22nd. We've been talking about it for God knows how long now. Darren Aston in the house. Chat a lot of boxing. And subscribe to the YouTube channel. Big up, Darren. Jack Catral knows himself. He needs to change it up. Yeah, I think there is a slight change in what Jack needs to do, Darren. I do agree with that. I think his style's taken him maybe as far as it can go because he can punch. Jack can. I'd like to see him maybe fight a little bit more aggressively.
I'd like to see him add to his camp, and I don't mean leave Jamie and Nigel Travis and that, but I'd like to see him add to it. If you notice now, some of the champions like Dubois and Parker, for example, those two, they've added to the camps rather than move. They've added something different, and you could see when Dubois fought AJ how Kieran Farrell's influence had helped, and with Parker as well, you can see how the Andy Lee influence has helped.
Yeah.
So I'd like to see him add something different, maybe get rid of Sam Jones and add something different. I think I said that out loud then, didn't I? Right, Elton God, I'm only joking, Sam.
Oh, dear, here he is. He's on fire. He's back. Boys, I want to ask you a question. We're going to cover the card now on Saturday from front to back. All 7 fights. Everyone in the chat, join us, get involved, give us your predictions, give us your thoughts. But I just want to ask you one question before we start. Which fight are you looking forward to most, both of you?
Oh, my God. Can I give my honest answer and you'll all think I'm bullshit?
Just your honest answer, yeah.
Ortiz Madrimov.
Oh, it's going to be a cracker, that. That's my second. Honestly, that's my second.
What's your first?
I'll let Liam go first.
Zhang Kabayel. That's what I'm looking forward to most.
Yeah.
Shit, yeah.
No, mine's Parker Dubois. Honestly, I just can't wait for Parker Dubois. Honestly, can't.
No, I mean I'm double excited for them all, but the reason I've picked that one is I think that's one of the closest fights in terms of matchmaking. Where that's probably the one fight where it's more of a coin toss for me. So I've gone for Madrimov UD. But I could wake up tomorrow and think Ortiz will do it. UD. That one is. Whereas every other fight, I've pretty much picked who I think's going to win and stuck with it. And I've been like that from other than Dubois and Parker. I did change a couple of times on that in terms of how I thought it would end and who I thought would win. But I've gone back to my original pick and I'm sticking with it. But the Madrimov fight, I keep chopping and changing, and that's off the back of Madrimov's last performance.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. Ortiz Madrimov. We'll cover them from bout order because we'll end up just probably talking about every fight in the wrong order like we always do. Choi B for me, Triple C, but we'll leave this one for the boxing for now. We'll maybe do something for the UFC. Darren said Dubois Parker. Lucas said Madrimov Ortiz, the closest fight, definitely. And Choi B's picking Virgil Ortiz Jr. Boys, Buatsi Smith is opening the card, 4:45 p.m. on Saturday afternoon, should I say, or early evening, if you want to call it that. All British affair, the only all British clash on the card. It's Buatsi's WBO interim.
Technically not. Mundo's a Scouser.
Oh, yeah, true. Liverpool's not.
They're on the island of Liverpool all by their own.
I'm Scouse, not English. Yeah. Buatsi defending his WBO interim light heavyweight championship that he won in the Willie Hutchison fight last time out. Let's get some thoughts from both of you on the matchup. First of all, obviously we've done picks and so on and so forth. But look, Mundo, probably a last chance saloon for him if he gets beat. I'd say that might be the last of him at world level. Not necessarily on talent, but maybe just age and desire. If he can't beat Buatsi, I'm not too sure if his heart's going to be in it anymore, based on previous comments after the Beterbiev fight. Buatsi's got a lot to prove. It's a tough, dangerous fight for him, especially with, I think, Callum Smith outside of Beterbiev is the hardest puncher in the light heavyweight division. Just give me some thoughts on it, boys.
I'll let you go, Liam.
Look, Buatsi, it's time to show that you actually have any inclination of delivering the undoubted pedigree and talent you have. The Willie Hutchinson fight in September was a massive step forward. He looked spiteful. He looks aggressive. Yes, okay, he was getting caught in the later rounds, but that was one of the best, most complete Joshua Buatsi performances we've seen from him as a professional. It was a step up from the Dan Aziz fight at the start of last year. He's, we talk about his Olympic pedigree. Well, that was the Rio Olympic Games. That was 2016. 9 years as a pro. 10 years as a pro now, because he obviously took a bit of time switching over near enough. You've got to get to a point where you have to start delivering. You're an interim world champion now. You're in a division where at some point these belts are all going to go up in the air. And because you got an interim world title, you are in A1 position with the WBO to either be made a full world champion or on one side of the fight for the championship. You now need to show you're worthy of it. I am a big Joshua Buatsi fan. I think he has all the talent in the world. But even in victory against Willie Hutchinson, we still didn't see a full 36-minute performance from him. And that's my biggest concern. He always seems to, not going to say get distracted, but just lose interest perhaps for a couple of rounds or take his foot off the gas, or it likes to put himself in certain positions which look uncomfortable because that's what he thrives off of. On the other hand, with Callum Smith, look, I didn't think he was gonna fight again. After the Beterbiev fight, you look at the interview done with Sky Sports in the changing room, he didn't just look like he'd been beaten, he looked mentally, physically, and emotionally drained and done with the sport of boxing as well. So the fact that he's come back, look, I'm pleased he's come back because I really like Callum Smith. I've enjoyed following his career, but I question what he has left. The Callum Smith that won the World Boxing Super Series, that, dared to be great against Canelo, is as dangerous as any other fighter you could put in the ring with Joshua Buatsi on Saturday night. That's my opinion. May not be agreed with by you boys, but that's my opinion on it. My issue with that is we're talking about the 2018 to 2020 Callum Smith. We're now in 2025. He's lost to Canelo. He's lost to Beterbiev. He's been really stop-start since his move up to light heavyweight, mainly because of Beterbiev's injuries. When he, 2 times their fight got postponed before it eventually happens. What does he have left? Why is he coming back? But I also have something that tells me he has one big performance left in him. And if he's going to deliver it, he's going to deliver it on the biggest of stages on Saturday night, isn't he? Yeah, for sure. Definitely. Just a couple of comments, Jay, before I get your thoughts. Lucas saying that Liam's spot on about Buatsi, and he agrees with this comment from DJ Pap. Buatsi Smith is my sneaky fight. Can go either way, 50-50.
If Mundo turns up, he will KO Buatsi. Had a few picks for Mundo here. I think TJ's in the house. Hope you're well, TJ. He said Mundo didn't beat John Ryder. That was a very close one, actually. That was a weird performance from
He did, though.
Wasn't it?
Check box rec, brother.
He did on box rec, but it was a weird fight and a weird decision that. He's come back for the oil money, TJ says.
You're forgetting he won the Muhammad Ali trophy. He cleared £6.5 million for winning that tournament. So he doesn't need the oil money. I mean, yes, it's nice, but Mundo's not boxing for money anymore.
Mr. Crick says, I've got Smith maybe his left hook. Otherwise, if backed like he was against Beterbiev Ryder, then he loses. Thanks for joining us, Mr. Crick.
Thank you.
Split the divide on.
Buatsi's not on that level.
Smith.
Come on, man. Buatsi can't back him up like Beterbiev. Buatsi doesn't hit hard enough to back him up like Beterbiev. He's been in there with some of the hardest hitting super middleweights, and he's now at light heavyweight. I don't think Buatsi's as good as we've been conned into believing. Right, he had a great style for the amateurs, and he won a medal at the shittest Olympics, pretty much up there for boxing. 2016, it was shit. And there was a couple of decent heads in there, and that's, you might say I'm being harsh, but the standard of Olympic boxing dropped off a cliff after 2012. Right, I think we sent one of the smallest teams we'd ever sent to the 2016 Olympics. It might have been the one after, but recently. It's not been like it was. I'm not saying he's not good, because it's all I know, Luca. It's the only way I can.
Jay doesn't sit. Jay's not splinter ass like me, Luca.
I get paid to bullshit 9 to 5. Once I clock out, mate, it's all systems go. What I'm saying is, and again, I'm not being disrespectful, because I can only dream of doing half of what some of these guys have done. Joshua Buatsi has represented his chosen nation at the Olympics, because I know he's also proud of his heritage, of where he's from. But he represented Great Britain at the Olympics, and he medalled. Fantastic achievement. Sign me up. I'd love to do that. He then got turned over as a pro and flattered to deceive. Eddie Hearn's not an idiot. People like that don't let people go if they're any good. And Buatsi did he not sign with Hearn originally? Didn't he turn over with Hearn?
Then he went to Boxer.
Then he's gone, and then he's gone to Boxer. So Eddie Hearn has seen or not seen something
similar to a Coley, really. A Coley done the same thing.
And look at a Coley now. Yes, he's in a biggish fight, but you know, it's not the kind of fights we expected him to see. We've given the furore that he turned over with. Anyway, look. For whatever reason, he's left Eddie Hearn in activity or the promise of big fights. He had a really good win in his last fight against Willie Hutchinson. But again, Willie Hutchinson is unproven at world level. Willie Hutchinson has proved himself at domestic level and looks really good. You know, switch hitter, fast. He's got that Ingle style, really good. But fell to pieces once he got hurt to the body. That fight was done and dusted, and he was sort of clinging on for the last 6 minutes of that fight, really. And again, I couldn't take half of those shots, so it's not as though I could do any better. I'm just saying it as I see it. I think if Callum Smith's got anything left, which I believe he has, because I don't think he's daft enough to go in there half-assed, because he knows a half-baked Callum Smith loses to a 90 to 100% Joshua Buatsi. But if Callum Smith is anywhere above 50%, even a 75 to 80% Callum Smith on the night, I think beats Joshua Buatsi. He's got faster hands. He's got great bodywork. His defenses are pretty good. As we've seen, he's only lost to two of the best, Canelo and Beterbiev. Both are up there. I mean, Beterbiev is getting lauded as the best 175-pounder of this generation. Maybe, I mean, I'm trying to think of any 175ers that, maybe Roy Jones in his day, maybe, you know, Tarver, them kind of people, but and Canelo is what Canelo is. You know, to some people, he's the GOAT. To people like myself, he's one of the greats of this generation to do what he's done, stepping through the weight divisions, assisted or not. We will never know. But you know, he likes his Mexican steak, let's just say. But they're the only two people to beat him. Buatsi is nowhere near as good as them two. I don't care what you say. We're working on potential still, but for me, he's flattered to deceive. He should be way past where he is at the minute. He shouldn't be having fights like this with somebody that could be retiring after this fight, or somebody that's having a last chance saloon fight. He should be way past this now. He should be a reigning world champion, not holding an interim belt. So for those reasons, I'm picking Callum Smith to stop Buatsi at the weekend.
Brilliant. Hand history vaults in the house. This is Callum, sick fight in 5 years. I'm going to try and rattle through because we'll be here all night talking about all these fights at this rate. But Lloyd's in the house as well. Hope you're well, Lloyd. Smith decision for me. Plenty picking Callum Smith. Dan Evans in the building. Hope you're well, Dan. He's with Buatsi. I'm with Buatsi as well, Dan. Actually quite confident. Thinks he's special talent. Better than...
I'll take that bet, Dan.
Better than what he's shown. TJ, damn Jay, really overrating Smith here. Sounds like all the UK takes a hurt before he faced Beterbiev.
Overrating him. I've watched every single fight he's ever had, so I'm
Oh.
basing it on what I know about boxing, mate. I'm not overrating him.
One more do we need to know?
I'm backing Callum Smith as well, mate. I didn't say it when I spoke. Callum Smith, for me, wins this on points. Just the experience, the level he's been at. He will stay on Buatsi for 36 minutes, and I just don't think Buatsi's got it in him to.
I think unless
even this version of Callum
I
Smith,
think unless he catches Callum and Callum can't hold his shot, then I think that's his only chance for me. I don't think he outboxes Callum, and he takes way too many shots to not get hurt by Callum.
He's gonna have to step up his game, but I'm with Dan. I think he's capable. Thanks for joining us, Champion. Canelo is an all-time great, easily. Abdul Rahim, thanks for joining us as well. Buatsi wins on points. I agree with you, my friend. That is true, TJ. I agree with you on that one, mate. Anthony Yard did do better than Smith did, but styles make fights as well. Dan Evans calling Jay's Fight Talk out. I'd like to see that one.
Well, we're starting 10K. Starting point, because I don't bet for fucking
Here we go.
brother.
Do you know what? I love this. We're on the first fight.
Put it in escrow, man.
We've
Happy
already
to
got
do that
chaos in the comments. Thanks to everyone who's with us and is commenting throughout the show. We really do appreciate it. I'm gonna have to move it on because we'll be here all night.
I'll put mine up now.
Smith.
Send me your details. We'll put it in escrow.
Oh, I love it.
You're not happy to set the bet then, Dan? It's easy money for you, bro. I'll put it in escrow now. If you give me your details.
You sound like who was that negotiation? The talking about.
I sound like all the bullshitters.
Was it Eubank Jr. and someone? Anyway, look, right. Ajit
Eubank
Kabiel
against most people, mate. Eubank against most people.
Ajit Kabiel and Zhang. I don't think we're going to have too big an opinions like we have on the Smith Buatsi one. That's a little bit closer to home. But look, Kabiel coming in undefeated. Obviously, he's probably one of the biggest beneficiaries of Riyadh season so far. Beat Makhmudov, beats Frank Sanchez last time out. Two undefeated heavyweights. He's took their O's. He's been around for years. Kabiel's still only 31, 32 years old or something like that. Zhang's 9 or 10 years his senior. He's, I say, been up and down. He only had the weird performance against Parker, to be fair. His gas tank let him down, knocked out Wilder in a sensational finish. Obviously, the two wins over Joe Joyce when Joe Joyce was being Joe Joyce at the time. Fantastic. What do we think, boys? Zhang, Kabiel?
I've gone for Kabiel, but I have been harsh on Kabiel previously. I said I was undecided on him, and I just didn't think he was as good as what we'd been led to believe, as I've just said about Buatsi. But I think it's the right time. I think it's the right fight at the right time. I know Zhang's this destroyer of men, and he's had some great wins on his record. But I mean, the Wilder defeat is not. He can't dine out on that. Wilder's never been the same.
There's about
since
3 punches thrown in 5 rounds in that fight.
Yeah, and Wilder's never been the same since Fury beat him. He's never recovered from losing. I think it was the immortality that he felt he had within himself. I think once that had gone, once his ego had been crushed, he was just trying to win fights without the confidence that he had. I think it's the right time for Kabiel. He's significantly younger. He's lighter. He's faster. And I just think he'll be able to stay away from Zhang's power. And I think he'll stop Zhang later on in that fight also.
Definitely. Liam, before you come in, I'm just laughing. I'm loving the dynamic with TJ and Jay here. Abdul said Zhang to knock out Kabiel. That's where I'm at. Said Jay's rebounded from this Callum Smith picking Kabiel. He's back in the good books. Jay's Fight Talk now. Love it.
Okay.
Zhang stoppage 3-6. Makhmudov shown to be shit. Yeah, he lost to who's the he lost again after that. I can't remember, it was 2 now. It was on the top rank card. Not sure on Frank Sanchez. Yeah, debatable on him as well, Luca. Zhang has rapid hands and heaviest puncher in boxing. That's where I'm at, Luca. I think Zhang stops him as well, but such a great fight. Liam, let's come to you with your say on it. Kabayel on points, Mr. Crick says. Liam, hit me up.
Look, Kabayel is the definition of winner stays on in Riyadh season, isn't he? He was brought in as the B-side against Makhmudov, on the Day of Reckoning card, and he exposed Makhmudov for what he is. He's lost since, as Luke is saying here, and he moved on to Frank Sanchez. And look, for me, it doesn't matter if you're not sold on Makhmudov or Frank Sanchez. Kabayel has seen emphatic performances in both fights. We now go on the flip side to Jaylee Zhang. The artist formerly known as Deontay Wilder, and that is what that guy was that was in there with Zhang that night, would have probably got beaten by a feather duster that the cleaner they used in the hotel rooms when they left. That is how weak his chin is at this point in his career. Fantastic stoppage that will be on Zhang's highlight reel forever. However, let's put it in perspective. That isn't Deontay Wilder that was beating Bermain to the Vern and etc. on his way up. This is the one that's been on the decline for 3 or 4 years. Against Joseph Parker, yes, he landed the 2 knockdowns, but he didn't win another one of those 10 rounds in that fight. He done nothing else other than land 2 overhand rights. Kabayel has the perfect style to be an absolute nightmare for Zhang, and when he's still standing there after 4 rounds, he takes over and he drowns the Chinaman and stops him in round number 9.
The Chinaman, you sound like a fucking cowboy movie. He's gonna beat the Chinaman.
Liam speaking, Campbell Hatton would have beat that Wilder TJ.
I wouldn't go that far.
God's sake. Love it. DJ Pat says Zhang will need to take Kabayel within the first 6. Yeah, Zhang's gas tank has been questionable, Pat, in the past. That is controversial, Dan. I thought JP took that fight, to be fair. Champ says Canelo's the greatest 168-pounder of all time. Whoops on Brady.
Fuck off. Roy Jones punched a fucking hole in his head.
I don't know. Canelo Ward at 168 is, I don't know.
Ward would have danced rings round him. Froch would have beat him. Calzaki would have beat him.
Similar to how Bivol Canelo went at 175. That's what Ward and Canelo would have been.
Yeah, Ward would have beat Canelo.
Yeah, so he's not the greatest 168.
Canelo Froch would have been a good fight, but I don't know.
I would
Canelo
say
could have outpointed Froch.
I would say he's probably one of... He's up there, but I think he's better 160 than 168. I think he's top 10 maybe, but not of all time. No chance, Champy. No chance, brother.
Right, moving on then from Zhang Kabayel, Virgil Ortiz against Madrimov. Many of our favourite fights of the night. I think Jay said it was your number 1, didn't you?
Yeah. I'm looking forward to this more than any.
To Ortiz. Look, to be fair, Virgil Ortiz knocked out all but one opponent, and that was Sergey Boachuk in what was, for me, one of the top 3 fights of 2024. It was an absolute war. He's dropped twice, Ortiz, but Boachuk, as we know, is a thunderous puncher. Israel Madrimov's only had about 12 fights. He's been a former world champion. Had a really good win, actually, over the Russian. I can't even think of his name now on one of the Riyadh season cards. Somebody will help me out there. Liam Smith lost to him. But that was a controversial decision. But that was a good win to win. It's annoying me, his name. But Bud Crawford, he pushed him. You know, Crawford obviously won the fight, but it's an interesting clash of styles. I'm worried for Madrimov. Can he keep Virgil Ortiz's pressure off him? Troy B mentioned it earlier. Kurbanov, Dan, that's the one. Thank you, mate. Magomed Kurbanov. Boys, this has just got war written all over it, hasn't it?
Yeah, I think... go on, Liam. Sorry,
mate. I was going to say, it's put up or shut up time for Virgil Ortiz Jr. And what I say by that is, as good as he's looked and as good as the Boachuk performance was, he now needs to show he can do it against someone that's got the T-shirt at world level like Madrimov. Look, it's well documented the issues that Ortiz had with 147, and that's why we didn't see him fight at all in 2023 after the McKinson fight. There was question marks if he'd ever fight again because he'd taken so much out of himself. 154 is his home. I'm really glad to see him back fighting. Unbelievable talent. You cannot deny what the talent and the pedigree that the kid has, but you need to show something now. Israel Madrimov is a pressure fighter that will not leave him alone for 12 rounds. We haven't seen Ortiz really have to deal with a pressure fighter. Yes, he was dropped twice by Boachuk, but Boachuk done that off with the back foot, if we're being really honest. Madrimov will look to set a pace and be on the front foot all night. How Virgil Ortiz deals with it will tell us a lot about how the fight's going. It's an old cliche to say after 3 rounds, we'll know what sort of fight we're in for. Well, we will know, because if Madrimov starts on the front foot and Ortiz looks uncomfortable, it's going to be a long night for him. I'm a massive fan of him, but I just question if this is an opportunity coming too soon for him. He hasn't been properly gut tested yet, and he needs a gut test. I just think this is too dangerous an opponent for him to have a gut test and come through against. I think he'll lose this fight and needs to rebuild.
Yeah, I'm with you. We've had a few Madrimov picks in the chat. That's kind of where I'm going pat again with one, Luca and Abdul. The hand history vault said Boachuk's better than Madrimov. I'm gutted we didn't see that fight on the Fury Usyk rematch.
Yeah, me too.
That would have been phenomenal. But go on, Jay, give us your
Madrimov
thoughts.
for me, points. I just think he's better. I think Virgil Ortiz is, I don't want to say one-trick pony, but I think if you can manipulate your way around his marauding style and keep a little bit of distance between you and him, I think I think Madrimov will be able to pick him off. I think he'll be able to tuck up tight, take his best shots. I mean, he stayed away from Crawford. If Crawford can't find a space to knock you out, I don't think Ortiz is going to do that. And I just think Madrimov will be able to, I don't want to say old man him, but I think he's better technically. I think Ortiz is more of a fighter and Madrimov is more of a boxer. And
He's
I think
from
boxing,
that Uzbek school of amateurs, isn't he, Madrimov?
I just think
really
he'll get in and out. He'll pivot off to the left or right. And I just think he'll confuse Ortiz. And I think after 5 or 6 rounds, I think Madrimov will start to pull away, and I see him winning a 116, 112, something like that, a unanimous, a comfortable unanimous decision. I say comfortable, I don't mean he's comfortable. I mean in terms of
he's going to come through some hairy moments. Ortiz Jr. hits too hard to not test Madrimov, and his game. One thing we find out about the Boachuk fight, Virgil Ortiz can bite down on the gum shield and have it out. He is incredibly tough. We got Dan's picking Ortiz, hand history vault saying Madrimov's the more technical fighter, so that's a pick for him. Sorry, mate. Yeah, tough to compare to Bud and Ortiz of Zero Income. Bud is also
no one compared him. I wasn't comparing him. What I was saying is we're going about Ortiz's marauding style and his power. But if Bud can't create an angle to catch him clean, then Ortiz has got absolutely no chance because he's not technically gifted as what Bud is. That was the comparison. If you take that as a comparison, I was using one as an example of the other rather than comparing them.
Yeah, that makes sense to me, Luca. Go on, Liam. What were you going to say? I think that's about right.
I was going to say Jay's knocked the nail on the head. If you can get past Ortiz's marauding right hands, it will look to wing in from all angles without even setting them up. Then you can have a relatively comfortable night. And Israel Madrimov can have a relatively comfortable night because everything is built off of a ramrod, solid Uzbekistani jab that will be there all night long. And unless Ortiz has finally been taught the art of setting up punches and setting his feet, he's not going to be able to do anything to Madrimov. Madrimov can make this quite boring to watch and win it on the back foot if he chooses to.
Yeah. He's not going to stand and trade with him, is he? He's not going to have to bite down on his gum shield like he did with Boachuk. He's not going to stand there in front of him and give him that opportunity, I don't believe. Because that's the riskiest thing to do.
Yeah, if he breaks Virgil Ortiz's heart, there could be a stoppage down the back end of the fight. Because Ortiz, as we've seen with young fighters time and time again, when they're properly getting gut-chested, they either have fight or flight, don't they? And I do wonder if Ortiz Jr. at this point will choose flight. He'll choose to save face. He'll choose to save face for another day and way out the fight. No,
I like Jay too, TJ. Thanks for that, man.
I'm a big Jay admirer, isn't
it? That's a great bit of feedback. Appreciate that.
Thank you, man.
Sorry, Liam.
Mate, you should put that on your LinkedIn. I like Jay. He's feisty.
Probably the best compliment you can ever give, Jay. I love it, TJ.
Cheers, man.
Dan said he thinks Ortiz is underrated as a boxer. Batter McKinson is a really good boxer, different level entirely, though, in fairness. Yeah, it is. It's I agree with that. Look, boys, it's going to deliver Ortiz Madrimov. Both of them are always in entertaining fights, especially Ortiz Jr. Matchroom Golden Boy. on that one as well. The next one, this is the next. It's not the next one. The next one is Carlos Adames and Hamza Shiraz. We give it the big up last night. Like I said, I think I'll start on this one. I think Carlos Adames is getting criminally disrespected in this matchup. I think the pendulum is way more even than the 80-20 that most people seem to be giving it to Hamza Shiraz. Carlos Adames, I know Hamza's knocked out 15 in a row. Granted, he hasn't fought anyone of Carlos Adames' level, but he has fought some good fighters, it has to be said. Carlos Adames is seasoned, man. He's come up from 154 pounds. He's got 18 knockouts and 24 wins. He's a bigger puncher than people give him credit for. Yes, probably not as big a puncher as Hamza. I think this is going to be a really good fight. I think Hamza's going to come through some adversity in this one. I honestly do. And I think it's a sleeper for fight of the night. You boys have a go here while I just pull up some comments. Dave at Rope said he got a feeling at Adames will have a few people with open mouths on Saturday being written off too soon this side of the pond. Yet completely agree on that one. Dave, Madrimar by decision or Ortiz late. Abdul saying Hamza Shiraz, TKO's Adames. Champion said Jesus Ramos whoops all these guys at 154. He's got a little bit more to prove, in my opinion, before we can say that. Fancy Hamza, but I think he'll have to get up off the canvas. Completely agree. I said that last night. Dan, boys, what do we think?
7th round stoppage, Hamza Shiraz. I think he'll get knocked down or he'll get wobbled early. But I think he'll come through it. Bit like he did against Amor Williams. I think Adames will jump on him. I think Hamza Shiraz will maybe get stunned in terms of not be ready for a marauding attack. I think that's my buzzword for tonight is marauding. I think that's about the fucking 10th time that I've used it. I expect it to be a gut check. I think he's going to get hurt, Hamza Shiraz, but we saw in the Williams fight, he got hurt in that fight. And I think if Amor would have stepped back a little bit and been a little bit more reserved in his attacks or a bit what do I mean by it? You just rushed in and tried to get him out of there, and Hamza's right long as well and tall. Does get down low sometimes, but I think he's going to use his attributes this time. I think he's going to stay long, but I do think he'll get involved in a bit of a gun slinging contest initially. I think he'll get hurt first, second, or third. I think he'll get through that, find his range, and I think he'll hurt Adames and then get him out of there in rounds. I've gone for 7, but 7 to 9. I fancy that back quarter for him to just up the pace and get him out of there.
Mr. Crick's gone Shiraz. Pat's gone Shiraz somewhere between 7 and 10.
Fucking hell, have you got access to my fucking hard drive or something, Pat?
Pat and Jay on the same wavelength every time. Now it's just like clockwork. It is. TJ said Shiraz could possibly be the best middleweight in the world. He most definitely could. We'll find out. Yeah, we'll find out on Saturday night. This is the most interesting fight in the card. People really don't know to beat. Yeah, I agree with that. Hand history vote for sure. That jab that Hamza has, Abdul, for sure. He's a left-handed orthodox fighter, which you don't see too often.
And he don't need he's never really needed lateral or head movement because he's usually about 6 inches taller than everybody else. He's not really. He moves in straight lines. I get what Abdul means. He don't really move his head or laterally. He don't really have to because he's so tall. But I think Adames will force him to have to use some of the skills we've not seen from him, and I think we'll see a more polished performance from Hamza Shiraz. I think this will be the best performance we've ever seen, and that's not me guessing. That's based on what I know about the pair of them. Also, it's his natural weight division. Adames has moved up from a lower weight division. Yes, he's filled out into the weight division, but Hamza Shiraz is the naturally bigger guy, and I think that will pay dividends later on in the fight.
Liam?
Look, I mean, if you listen to the Queensbury boys that are paid to make all the Queensbury fights to sound like world beaters, then Carlos Adames is almost a competition winner that's lucky to have a WBC world title. That isn't the fact at all. This is the third defense of his belt. For what it's worth, he won and defended the interim belt 2 or 3 times before the full world title. So he's an established 12-round fighter. He's a typical PBC fighter in the sense of it seems to be you can only fight once a year if you work for Al Heyman. You're not allowed out more than that for whatever reason. So his activity is a massive issue for me. Hamza's had 6 fights in 18 months. We've only seen Adames once. I just think when you're making it so publicly obvious that you're avoiding the big man in the division, which is Janibek, for what would have been a 3-belt unification, that sets the kind of mentality that you have as a fighter. If the going gets tough on Saturday night for Carlos Adames, what is he going to do? If this young, talented, super strong buck puts it on him and lets his hands go, is Carlos Adames going to wilt under the pressure? I don't think he will wilt, and I think he'll see out the whole 12 rounds, but I just think his output will be very low. He'll start with all the energy in the world, but once he's eaten 5 or 6 of those jabs and he's got the taste of blood in his mouth and he can feel it coming down his nose, he'll think about saving face and just looking to get out of there without becoming another Hamza Shiraz stoppage victim. He's on a run of 3 very impressive stoppages from last year. Liam Williams inside 3 minutes, Ammo Williams in the dying seconds of the 11th round, and he knocked down Tyler Denny 4 times inside 5.5 minutes in his last fight at Wembley. Yes, there's varying levels there, but you can only beat what's put in front of you. And Hamza Shiraz is answering every single question emphatically. He's not long for 160, Hamza Shiraz. The move up to 168 is imminent, I think, within the next year for me, if I'm being really honest. So he's going to make a statement. This is going to be his first world title. Hamza Shiraz by a very wise points decision victory.
Yeah, I think it'll be on points as well. Dan, to answer your question, yes, Lara is the WBA champion, so he's the other one outside of Adames and Janibek who has a belt at 160. Yeah, to be fair, he'll probably sell his belt at some point. If Hamza wins, don't be surprised if he fights Lara in a unification on a Riyadh season card soon. That would not surprise me in the slightest. Moving on from that one, then the fight I'm probably least looking forward to the most, and it's probably just stylistically, it's Shakur against Kid Austin. It's WBC lightweight championship of the world. Shakur fighting now, obviously signed to Matchroom. He'll be fighting on the Riyadh season cards. Floyd Schofield, fair play to him at 22 for taking the step up. I watched his last fight on the Golden Boy card against Hiron on the zone. I think he was dropped in that fight, if I remember. It's a big step up for him, but him and his dad have been very vocal about him being ready. He's probably getting paid a hell of a lot of money, which makes it easier to say yes to an opportunity like this. But, Shakur, his last fight against Harrod Union at home, a lot of the fans left the arena. Do you think he'll be feeling some sort of pressure that he has to, get this, for say, 22-year-old kid out of there, or is it a case of he'll just box to his normal?
I don't think he cares. I don't think Shakur Stevenson cares. I don't think he's ever cared about things like that. He's got a plan. He'll fight who's in front of him, and he'll do what he always does. He'll just box his head off for 12 rounds. That's what Shakur does. I don't believe that he'll take any unnecessary risks based on people's opinions. He don't give a shit for opinions. He knows how good he is. The people within his gym and his circle know how good he is. We think we know how good he is from what we see from the outside world. Yes, we're a little bit disappointed when he ekes out 12-round decisions, when we believe that he could step on the gas and potentially get people out of there. He's very much like Floyd Mayweather, and I don't mean how he boxes and skills, but he's safety first. Floyd was always like that. Safety first, get through, gauge him. Like you said, Sam, download your data in the first couple of rounds. You know what they've got. You know what you can do, and just course through and get the win. Don't take any unnecessary risks because you can get caught. Floyd Mayweather did it against Maidana and nearly got, if it wasn't the end of the round, Floyd was in.
I was hurt in that. He held on to the rope. His legs were under him.
We saw him get hurt against, we've seen it happen. So I just think that we'll see a safety first approach. Floyd Schofield, maybe that guy. I think it's come too soon for him at 22. I think Shakur's not that much older than him. He's not an old man, but the gym that he's come from, comes out of the sparring that he has. He's been a world class. I mean, I've interacted with him since before he won his Olympic medal. I met him at a tournament through Troy Williamson. He boxed on some international tournament years ago over here, and I met him then. So I've known about this kid from way before the Olympics. I know how good he is. He's the real deal. He just lacks a little bit of power, or lacks the ability to sit down on his punch. Not lacks the ability, but I don't know whether he lacks the bottle to actually mix it up a little bit because he boxes safety first. I don't think we'll see anything other than 10-2, 11-1, 12-0 to Shakur Stevenson.
You have to ask that question, Abdul. That is fair to say. Obviously, he had the.
He said it's fine. He did the strength test over there. He didn't try that hard, though, did he? I think he got 30 kilos. The average was 65 kilos. And
it would have been funny if he'd done that and done his hand again.
Yeah, I think that's why he didn't attempt to squeeze it that hard.
Mr. Crick's probably where most of us are at with the fight, to be fair.
Is that unanimous boredom or more of a majority boredom?
Universal
boredom. Look, I think Schofield could put up a decent showing, to be fair. I hope he does anyway, because it's going to be tough when you've got 3 unbelievable fights happening before it. And then, we all know what it's like. Do you remember when the 5v5 was on and they put Bivol versus Zinad in the middle of it and all that? It's sometimes placed
a bit anticlimactic.
The question is, Schofield better than Sam? Schofield replicate Sam's performance? If so, he can win. Yeah, he did all right that night, to be fair. Look, it's a big ask, isn't it? It really is a big ask. It is the safe bet, Dan, definitely there. But hopefully Schofield can do it. We've got Flying Falcon. Hi, guys. Hope you're well, Flying Falcon. Thanks for tuning in. They are different styles. TJ, you are correct there. So, Liam, what's your verdict on this one?
Look, I've said it. If Dave from Rope-A-Dope's still in the chat, he knows exactly what I'm about to say. Hopefully he won't fall off his chair tonight. I am going very big and very bold with a Floyd Schofield 9th round stoppage. I just have a feeling that he is talking the absolute...
He's drank the fucking Kool-Aid, man. Yeah.
He's talking the absolute talk of how he's going to come in there looking for a brawl, and how he's going to come in there looking to make Shakur uncomfortable. And if for whatever reason, Shakur 3.5 months after this hand operation, if it isn't quite healed, and if he doesn't have full faith in it, Schofield's able to make him feel uncomfortable, is able to stick it on him, I just have a feeling it's going to be his night. We get these moments on these Riyadh season cards, and it's the only fight I can think of where it's an absolute massive upset. Floyd Schofield has absolutely nothing to lose on Saturday night. He can go out there and get his head boxed off for 12 rounds and, still come again, or he can go out there and deliver everything he said he's doing. His interview that he gave at the Grand Arrivals tonight just showed that he's not going to wilt under the bright lights this week. He's going to go for it. And for me, it will be one of the shocks of boxing this year.
Well, you'll win me $8,000 anyway, because I've just put 100 quid on it, mate. 80-1. There you go. Just in case.
Cheers,
I am joking, by the way. Gamble.
Yeah, look, it's going to be a lot.
I just have that feeling.
Mate, you have to go with them gut feelings sometimes, because they come off. I did it with Joshua Ruiz, round 7. You get these random.
I said it to Sam and I said it to Dave when I went on Dave's the Boxing Live show back at the start of this year that I was back in Floyd Schofield. So it's not something I'm just coming up to be able to manage in fight week.
80-1 there, boys and girls. 80-1.
I've backed it from the moment the fight was made. I just think Shakur's coming back too soon. Is he desperate to stay relevant because he's already missed his matchroom debut after leaving Top Rank? Is he that desperate to stay relevant that he's taken a risk fighting 2 or 3 months earlier than he should do? I mean, look, it'd be one of the biggest upsets we've ever seen, but I'm backing it.
Look, Schofield's definitely got something about him. I agree with. He looks confident. So look, let's see. A lot of pubs and bars in the UK not advertising these fights on Saturday. Strange that, to be fair. I haven't seen or been around any to notice it, to be fair. But they should have it on because it's going to draw crowds, without doubt, Abdul. Boys, the biggest 2 fights on the card we're down to now. Got to start with the fight that I personally am most excited about, as I alluded to earlier. Daniel Dubois and Joseph Parker. Dubois defending his IBF Heavyweight World Championship. This one, I've gone out on a limb. I honestly can't see Joseph Parker beating Dubois. I can't. And this is the statement I said. This is where everyone jumps on me. And I know you boys think Parker's going to. We did the prediction show the other night. I just don't foresee Daniel Dubois losing to Parker. I honestly don't. I'm going to get Dan Evans. Great timing, my friend. I knew there was something about you, Dan. I think Dubois going boys.
Do a double if you want, Dan. We can do a double.
you and Jay are back again, Dan.
$20.
Honestly, I just think Dubois' momentum, his pressure, his Dubois not Zhang. Parker navigated that fight well. But Dubois' pressure is absolutely insane. You couple that with his punching power, his confidence, his momentum. I just think he's gonna hot knife through.
Not right. Good going backwards though, and you go back to the Joshua fight when Joshua put it on him. I know he caught Joshua coming forward like a moron, but he sort of wilted a little bit, and he looked really worried, and he was just looking for counters. Parker won't give him that. I don't think he'll stop him in 4 or 5 rounds. I'd be very fucking surprised if he does, but it could happen. He hits hard enough, but Parker hits hard and all. And remember,
he said he's going to trade Parker. Says he's going to throw, and I believe him.
I believe him. I mean, he traded with Ruiz, he's traded with Joshua, he's done it with White, he's done it with Chisora. Yes, albeit they're not necessarily as good as Dubois in this instance as the Dubois that he is now. I just think Parker's got him. I think Parker will beat him.
Yeah, I think that's a good assessment.
I think he stops him. I think Parker will stop Dubois late. I think I've gone for round 10, I think.
Yeah. It's such a fascinating fight. Honestly,
6. I've gone for round 6. Parker,
early.
6.
Okay.
My little girl picked that. She always picks 6. So I'm going with that.
Parker points for Abel.
I'll level with what Dan said, and I'll say that Parker will get dropped inside the first 3 rounds. He will get put on the seat of his pants, similar to the Zhang fight. However, as I said when we done our show on Sunday previewing it, and again last night with the Rope-a-Dope boys, this version of Joseph Parker that works with Andy Lee, that has sheer respect for the relationship and what he's being told, is a dangerous combination. Joseph Parker prepared at the time for the absolute killer that was Deontay Wilder. Nobody knew before the Wilder-Parker fight in December 23 that Deontay Wilder was shot to pieces and had nothing left to offer the game. So that 12-round disciplined masterclass of a performance that they planned was, the benchmark. Yes, okay, Wilder was shot, but that was a fantastic disciplined performance. Zhang, arguably, I mean, I know, Dan, you said earlier you had Zhang beating Parker. For me, the reality is Zhang was lucky if he won another round, maybe 2, outside of the knockdowns. That, again, was Parker boxing to orders, landing big shots, but also, other than those 2 moments, staying out of trouble. Saturday night will be very similar for me. Joseph Parker's style is a nightmare for Daniel Dubois because, yes, Daniel Dubois has looked impressive with what he's done over the last year and a couple of months, but he hasn't had a come-forward pressure fighter that's happy to absorb punishment and take punches to let his own punches go. Joseph Parker will do that for 4 rounds. Then if he feels comfortable, he'll box him on the back foot. Daniel Dubois struggled against Joe Joyce and Usyk when he has an opponent picking him off the back foot. Joseph Parker has the ability to do that again. I don't think Joseph Parker will get a stop. I think if he sees himself ahead on points, he's not going to expose himself late in the fight to maybe getting taken out. But a Joseph Parker points victory unanimously is how I'm going with this one.
Does anybody remember Andy Lee against, was it Jackson?
Yes, when he flatlined him with a check right hook. That was a peach.
But what I'm talking about, he was Barry Czech Congo, wasn't he? He was falling over his feet. He was
hurt himself.
His gum shield was hanging out, and boom. A bit similar to what Dubois did to Joshua. I've got a feeling this is going to be, what's John Fury say? Blood, guts, and thunder. And that's what we're going to see for a couple of rounds, and I think Parker will ease himself into it, and he'll get him out of there mid-rounds.
Yeah,
sticking with my original pick.
Tough man. There's no doubt about that.
Andy Lee was 6-7-0 down in that fight as well before he flatlined.
His ass handed to him, and then he nearly got stopped. And then it's one of the most brutal knockouts you've ever seen.
I will say I don't think Joseph Parker wins this fight if Andy Lee isn't in his corner. That's how much prestige I hold Andy Lee in, the way that he's looked after Joseph Parker. I mean, their first fight was the Joe Joyce debacle, where Parker looked like he just rolled out of Wetherspoons, about 21 stone, and he looked horrendous that night.
Said he was ill that night.
Yeah, whatever it was, something wasn't right. But how they've looked since then and how the relationship has flourished, I really think that Andy Lee can propel Parker onto picking up this belt and then picking up a couple more once he's
cleaning up, mate.
This is Joseph Parker's time to pick up quite a few belts and rule for a few years. Absolutely, he won the first world title too soon against Ruiz.
I'm just going to wallow in my big mouth and just read all the Joe Parker comments here, boys. So just bear with me for 1 second. Pat picking Parker for a late stoppage. Lucas put me right in my place. Only thing Dubois has over Parker's power. Parker's far too clever a boxer. Bamboozle him. Dubois will implode and he'll sit down again. David Roper said Sam's only going for Dubois because Don Charles will be after him. The boys are having a bit of crack.
What
about
was that?
it.
Back up your words. What? Let me.
I think they're talking amongst themselves, Dan and hand history. But Dubois stoppage round 6 to 8 for Mr. Crick. Thank you very much. Hand history vote on Dubois as well. Parker can't be trusted. Cheers, boys. Dan round 4. Abdul, come on, Parker. John Fury is indeed a nutcase. Love that. There he is. What a fight it's going to be. I actually think that this is gathering the most traction on the card, boys. And I know the main event, and we'll get into it now, is such a fantastic fight. Obviously, we saw it 4 months ago. We know how good a fight it is and how well matched up they are. But it's creating real waves. Usyk probably waiting in the wings for the winner as well, judging on what we've seen. So,
mate, you know why this is generating so much traction. If you're a casual which only tunes in for the big fight cards, if you believe TNT, this is the main event. This is apparently above. They are selling their pay-per-view as Dubois and Parker being the main event. So it's bringing in the casual audience because that's what's being rammed down their throats more than the rematch between Beterbiev and Bivol. Yes, it's great to get the casual eyes on it, but let's not forget that the rematch was one of the most high-skilled boxing fights of the last 5 or 6 years, and we're getting to see it again not even 4 months later. That is the true main event. This is an outstanding fight, but in reality, it's an easy night's work for Joseph Parker.
Yeah, I didn't say it was going to be easy, but damn.
I think I did see. I know what you're referring to. Because I did see it was like Dubois Parker live on.
It's their main thing, and then you've got Beterbiev and Bivol to the side. Like they're doing it for the British audience, 100%. But sell it what the main event. You weren't making Fabio Wardley and Fraser Clark the main fight before the first one. Yes, it's a lower level, but you get my point. That was a British fighter and a Sky Sports fighter. They were selling it off of what the actual main event was. This time they're playing to a more casual audience.
Yeah, I agree. Right then, boys, let's get into it. The main event of a historic night on Saturday. We've seen it 4 months ago. Artur Beterbiev won via a majority decision. It was a really close fight. Beterbiev came on really strong down the stretch. Bivol fought a great fight as well. It was really, I called Catro Barboza a high-level chess match. This was a high-level chess match last October. It was really interesting to watch. Jay, I know you're a lot more of a purist than me. I prefer, knockdown central and all the rest of it. You love your Beterbiev Bivol type of fights that we saw in the first fight.
We're not getting that this time.
Yeah, with it only being 4 months, what changes, I guess, can both fighters make? It's not like, they've fought again or anything like that. It happened literally 120 odd days ago. What would change?
I think Bivol held box within himself. He was apprehensive about exchanging. I don't think it's going to be anywhere near as close as last time. I think Bivol will knock him out. I've took a load of shit, but I'm sticking with it.
There you go.
I think Bivol knocks him out, stops him, beats the old man up, sends him back home with his tail between his legs. Go on, fuck off, do one.
And I'm on the same train as Jay here, and we spoken about it off camera as well. The two of us. It is Dmitry Bivol from round 4 to round 8. Looks in complete control and looks emphatic in that first fight in October. And then for whatever reason, he went back into his shell like he was for the first 3 rounds and allowed Beterbiev to apply more pressure. Beterbiev, if you believe the judges' scorecards, won that fight based off of 10, 11, and 12. We disagree, but that's how he won it because he had more pressure. The Dmitry Bivol we saw in the middle part of that fight that had Beterbiev looking uncomfortable, that was peppering him with right hands and body shots at will. We need to see that from the first bell. Put Beterbiev in a place where he's uncomfortable, but do it from the first bell. Test his body out. Test his heart out. For me, Beterbiev is taking this rematch so quickly because he doesn't trust his body to get through to the later part of this year for a rematch. He knows his body is a ticking time bomb. His knee, his shoulder, his hands, etc. He has to take this fight now because if he waited till the summer, there's a high chance we wouldn't see it. Dmitry Bivol still has 2 or 3 years left in this game. Artur Beterbiev has 2 or 3 weeks left in this game because that's when he's going to retire after he loses this fight in reality.
And I think
they'll do a trilogy if Beterbiev.
It depends on the result. I think we're also forgetting that Bivol took Beterbiev's best shots from round one. Stood and traded with him from round one. Took it right there. Didn't even take a backward step.
He's got a great chin, Bivol. He has got a good chin.
But what I'm saying is, I think he boxed within himself because he didn't think he could take those down the stretch. He took them from round 1 to 12. I think he'll box a lot more aggressive this time. I think he'll assert his dominance from the first round. I think we're going to see a completely different fight. I don't think it's going to be anywhere near as close as last time. I didn't have it close last time. I totally disagreed with the judges. Yes, I might have been a little bit biased because I'd picked Bivol anyway, but I had it wide, a lot wider than the judges. I had it really wide, and I was wrong in that, but I still, after watching it back, think Bivol won that fight. It is what it is. He didn't get the result, but I think he'll rubber stamp it this time. I think he'll take any doubt away with his performance this time.
I was the only one of the three of us to pick. I thought Beterbiev would stop him in the first fight, but I scored it 7-5 to Bivol. But I don't like talking about, we all scored it to Bivol, but like it is what it is. We're not judges. So now, like Abdul had it 7-5. It was a close fight, put it that way. Dan's gone Beterbiev late, as has Mr. Crick.
I've gone, the round I've picked is 11. I think I've picked 11.
I think if
it's going to be a stoppage, it'll be late.
9.
Can't see it going early.
Yeah, round number 9, Joe. Yeah, I just think Bivol will put the pressure on all night. He will want to test Beterbiev out more and test that body out more in terms of how it holds up than he did in the first fight. He did fight within himself. He can't this time.
I really hope I'm proven wrong here, but I also could see, irrespective of what happens in the ring, if it goes 12 rounds, then giving Bivol the decision to make the third fight, as you said, Sam. So we could get a shit result anyway.
If Beterbiev's able to do the third one.
I don't, even if it's 1-1, I question if Beterbiev actually wants to go through a training camp and put his body through it again. As I alluded to earlier with Callum Smith, it took 3 dates to get the Callum Smith fight to come through. Anthony Yarde was 2 dates. Joe Smith Jr. was 2 or 3 dates. He has a history of not being able to deliver on time because of injuries. And now he's 41. He's 42 years old later in the year. I just think he's at a point where he wants to get this out of the way now so he retires. Even if he loses, he'll still be an undisputed champion and go down as one of the greatest 175-pounders we've ever seen. Losing on Saturday doesn't dent that legacy too much for me.
Yeah, look, they're both unbelievable fighters in their own right. I think it's always going to be close, nip and tuck whenever they fight.
I love the way that he's I like the way that Bivol accepted it as well. I'd love him to win just for the way he accepted it. He knew he'd got the shit end of the stick. He didn't moan. He didn't bitch about it. He hasn't even done that since. He's been asked about it and he just says, look, I lost and I've dealt with it. I've regrouped and we go again. So you have to respect him for that. But yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if Beterbiev gets a decision. Bivol gets a decision to make the trilogy irrespective of what's gone in. But I don't think it'll get to the 12th round. I think it'll be finished by round 11.
Yeah, this actually might be my favourite comment of the evening so far. We've had plenty. Dan, I completely agree with it. Every single fight, we've got loads of people in the chat arguing about who he wins it. That's
how boxing should be, though. We shouldn't be able to pick winners. What I mean is, obviously, we can all pick who we feel is going to win, but it's the fights that cause the arguments and people disagreeing with each other. That's how you know these fights are 50-50 fights, because nobody knows with any certainty what's going to win. We all pick based on us thinking we know what we're talking about, but ultimately we're pissing into the wind. It's guesswork. We can break it down, and I can give me scientific analogies and whatnot, but ultimately I'm just picking a name. I'm drawing a straw, and that's why we know this card's so good, because none of us have really agreed on anything, not rounds, decisions, and that's why it's so exciting.
Yeah, completely agree on that. The picks are all over the place for this main event as well. I can see Bivol running around, so on the body shots will be key. Slowing him down. Benavidez is going to be ringside. I heard, Dan, I saw that he's going over. Yeah, either of them against Benavidez would be a fantastic fight as well. I agree with Abdul as well. If Beterbiev wins, he's 100% retiring, in my opinion. Nothing else left really for him in the sport.
No, I agree.
to achieve. And obviously, he's 40 years of age. Anything else to conclude, boys? In fact, because it's such a big card, I forgot I need to ask you. Give me predictions for what's going to be the best fight of the card. Not necessarily, just like what's going to be the one that we're all talking about afterwards.
Shiraz for me, and because that's going to have controversy. I think we're going to get a couple of knockdowns and some blood, guts, and thunder. I know I said that Madrimov and Ortiz is the one I'm looking forward to, but again, that'll probably be really boring, as will the Shakur.
Yeah, probably be
but that's why I like those kind of fights.
Absolutely, Dan.
More technical. Absolutely not, Dan. There's no beef. I don't beef with people that have got no boxing knowledge, to be honest. I'm joking, by the way. That went over everybody's fucking head, but
I
know Dan knows it's all love, man. Yeah, I think that the Shiraz fight will be the one that will be probably the one that has us all sat on the edge of our seats. Obviously, Dubois and Parker, because the heavyweights anyway. You're expecting
we've got a lot of
you
Dubois,
watch them
Parker
on the NBC
coming
anyway. But for me, I think it's going to be Shiraz. I think there's going to be some madness in that fight.
Liam?
Look, I agree with the Shiraz fight, but to pick something different, I'll go with Zhang and Caballero. I just think they'll be similar. They'll be knockdowns in that fight.
Yeah, knockdowns and whatnot.
There could be controversy from Zhang's side if he gets another loss on the scorecards after scoring knockdowns. I just think that's early in the night, so it could be missed by some eyes as well. But that could be the one that we're talking about.
Yeah, that's going to be phenomenal. Pat says Adames Shiraz, but Ortiz Madrimov. Yeah, Ortiz Madrimov's up there for me, but I'm sticking with what I said at the start. Dubois Parker is just going. There's something's going to happen in that fight that just takes everyone's breath away. I'm telling you. For me, it'll be Dubois running through Parker. For a lot of people, it might be Parker running through Dubois. But the beauty is we're going to find out on Saturday night. And as Dan says, it is exactly what makes a sport great. Some great debate in the chat tonight about what's going to be a really good card. I don't want to miss out on Monday. So just before we wrap up, I quickly want to discuss Junto Nakatani defending his bantamweight WBC World Championship. Unfortunately for them, they're 2 days after what's probably the biggest and best card ever, potentially, on Saturday. So it's going to be
a damp squib, Liam.
Yeah, it's going to be drowned out. But look, Junto's exciting. I love watching him fight. 29-0, 22 wins by knockout. The undercard
should be fighting Inoue.
He should be fighting Inoue, but he's still at bantam for now, isn't he? So he's got to move up before that happens. He's fighting Contreras. I don't know a lot about him. He's 28-0 at 23 years old. I can't say I know a lot about the fella, but on the undercard, Higa against Sumi is going to be
great fight.
Really good fight. So Sumi just beat Inoue's brother Takuma Inoue to win the WBA belt. So that'll be a good fight. And then you've got Maloney's facing Tenshin on the card. So it's actually a really good card.
Tenshin, the guy who fought Floyd.
You got the guy who fought Mayweather. Yeah.
Sorry, mate.
Go on, mate.
It's a fantastic card. It just unfortunately is some of the worst card placement you could ever see going not 48 hours after this Saudi card. I mean, Nakatani for me will make a statement and win inside 3 rounds. There's no debate in that. He's going to go early and he's going to go hard. And the rest of the card is much of a nothingness for me. I'll watch it because it's boxing on a Monday and that's fantastic. But I'm not overly fussed by it. Nakatani knows he needs to make a statement to try and lure Inoue into fighting him after Picasso, so he has to do it early. Maloney, I think, is the last roll of the dice. I think he's shot to pieces and he's going to get dealt with. It's just, it's a much of a nothingness card. It will be good to have some boxing and the statement will be made by Nakatani.
Yeah. I can't disagree. I think Nakatani will turn up, do the business inside 3 or 4 rounds. The rest of the card's a little bit there. We'll watch it, but I'm not overly excited. But again, unfortunately for them, they are 48 hours removed from one of the biggest cards in boxing history. So it's difficult. I think even if it was Inoue Nakatani in the main event, you're not going to have as many eyes on it as you ordinarily would expect. But I'm interested to see if Nakatani can just get in there, deal with him, and then what he says on the microphone thereafter. Is he going to move straight up? Yeah, I'm excited for it.
It'd be
regardless.
unifications or moving up next
Yeah.
for sure. Hand History Vault next week. We'll have all of those. Tank Roach, Crocker Donovan's a big week again next week.
Yeah,
we'll get this one out the way first. Appreciate you asking though. Abdul, I used to love doing it, but since we started doing the watch-alongs on here and everything, I much prefer
I've
talking it
traveled
with
the world
people.
watching fights. No,
Yeah.
I can't stand noise and beer and women stood up in front of me that aren't interested in the fight. They've just gone along with the tight t-shirt, teeth and turkey hair. Boyfriend, I just can't cope with knobheads, and I don't like spending $1,000 to sit ringside surrounded by pricks. So I'd rather sit at home, either watching it on my own with the sound off, or with these two guys doing a live watch along. Not interested in events anymore.
I'm with you there. Yeah, Luca, do you know what? That is a fair point as well. I do see where you come from. It does. So yeah,
high energy on a Monday morning. They'd have been better off putting it on Sunday morning.
They should have just put it on in Riyadh on after the main event. Beterbiev Bivol.
Yeah,
he has. I'm really impressed with him actually. His transition, into boxing. He's looked fantastic. So
fast.
Credit to him. He should beat Jason Maloney. But yeah, boys, anything to Luca, imagine that just straight from Riyadh into Japan. I'd love that.
Crazy, that wasn't it?
Anything to add, boys, before we finish up? Liam, I know you've got something that you want to let everybody know.
Yeah, so look, excited to announce that Liam's Fight Night Picks is coming back, and it has found a new home over on Jay's Fight Talk. So before I came on No Punches Pulled with the boys tonight, I got an episode in the can for this week's magnificent cards, which will be out on YouTube tomorrow lunchtime. Me and Jay will get that sorted, so it's ready to go for you guys. So anyone who hasn't gone over to JFT off the back of finding us here on
get yourself over, man.
Sure to subscribe, and the episodes are back weekly. I've got guests lined up until April already. Great to be back on the horse. Big thanks to Jay for giving me the platform to carry on with the show, and everyone get involved. Comment, subscribe, let us know your thoughts as you always do. Big love for all the support.
That's fantastic news. You know, we've been gutted that the show wasn't airing anymore. We've had a little bit of technical issues, but we found a new home for it over on Jay's Fight Talk. So if you could get yourselves over there and subscribe. We've also got Straight Talk, my and Liam's sort of spin-off show off the back of this that we do on Thursdays, which is just sort of a magazine style show. We talk about just fight sports in general. It is boxing led, but we do talk about other fight sports as well. So yeah, there's my shorts, there's my picks, reviews, and things on there. And then obviously Liam's going to be airing that show as of tomorrow, and that's its new home. So you'll find it every Wednesday over on Jay's Fight Talk. As I've said, like, comment, share, and subscribe. Follow us all. SW Fight Up the same. You know, we've got this show on there, but Sam does his own previews, reviews on pretty much every fight that there is.
Any fight that there's ever been.
That's it, man. Thanks for your support, guys. And
definitely.
We appreciate it, man.
Yeah, I echo what Pat said there. Good job on that, boys, and the straight talk. I was laughing at this when you were talking, Jay. Luca's launching a pick show. Yeah, that'd be good, Luca. Definitely, I'll be locked into that.
Just share mine, Luca. We have the same.
Be retired.
Just share my picks, brother. Just rebrand Jay's Fight Talk as Luca's pick.
Behave, Luca. Behave. Well, until
he'll have got it wrong anyway, Luca.
Oh yeah, probably. Yeah, don't get me wrong. I take a lot of stick about it. To be fair, just a quick one. Top man Pat for tuning in. I'll thank everybody in a minute. Tomorrow we'll be back on here for the prediction shows for the US fights for Shakur versus Floyd Schofield and Virgil Ortiz Jr. against Israel Madrimov, with a special guest joining the three of us. Thursday we're going to do Zhang and Junto Nakatani before the boys do Straight Talk that they've just said on JFT. Friday we're going to do a final preview, going to see what's happened at the weigh-in, the pressers, and then obviously the watch along for the full card on Saturday, review show on Sunday. Massive thanks to Luca, DJ Pat, the Hand History Vault, Abdul, Flying Falcon, Dan Evans, Mr. Crick, TJ. God, so many tonight, guys. Thanks very much, everybody. Roper Dope Dave, DJ Pat, if I haven't mentioned you already, Pat, top man. And then you Champy, God, loads. Luca, thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you, guys.
To us, Lloyd Hernandez as well. If anyone, I missed you, Darren Aston, Troy B, apologies if I missed anybody. Loads of you tonight. We're not used to that bigger crowd normally. We'll see you tomorrow. We'll keep the momentum rolling for the week and enjoy the rest of your Tuesday evening. Everybody take care.